Welcome to Citizens Climate University. This is a weekly webinar program that Citizens Climate Lobby puts on for all of you to get you access to in-depth training opportunities on topics relating to climate change and effective climate advocacy. So this week, we are joined by Don Adju. He is the Senior Director of Programs at CCL, and he'll be talking about getting ready for Earth Day. This is an election edition. As many of you know, we will be having an Earth Day in October celebration where all of you are encouraged to host events and do everything you can to get out the vote, specifically for voters who really care about climate. So at this point, I will hand it over to Don.
All right, thanks, Sabrina. I appreciate it, and thank you all for being here. So we'll jump right in. I'm pretty excited about what we've got going on for our Earth Day election edition. I want to talk a little bit about the context as to where this came from, what our goals are, and then I will share with you what we have in terms of materials that are already available, and also some upcoming materials that you can look forward to. So I'll start with this was an idea from Jill Mishler out of our Wisconsin chapter. So this is purely grassroots, which I really love. I'm delighted that she brought this idea to us, and we were able to pull it together and make it happen. So the idea here is, you know, the Earth deserves more than one day a year, and ultimately the goal is to focus on climate as a voting issue. Now, one of the challenges we have as a nonpartisan organization is we don't have the luxury of being able to endorse candidates. That's beyond our scope. And so ultimately, you know, we want every candidate, regardless of where they are or what party they're affiliated with, to vote for climate. We want them as climate allies and climate champions. So the way that we can help address that is, especially in the midterms, is to make climate a voting issue. One of the things that I really love about Dr. Katharine Hayhoe is the fact that she talks so often about the importance of talking about climate. And so this is just another way for us to discuss climate change in the context of elections. So our goal is not necessarily to get candidates on board with climate action in general, but more to educate voters around climate and really activate climate for voters. Get this in front of them, make it a voting issue, because we know when voters take a stand, when they say an issue is important, that's what moves elected officials. And we know that's true because that's what we do, and that's what we've seen. So this is a tried and true method for us, and I'm excited to kind of expand it in the framework of an election, because we've never done anything like this before. So I'm pretty excited. One of the things I like about CCL is that we're not afraid to expand into new territory. So I'm really thankful for our folks in Wisconsin and Jill in particular for bringing this to us and kind of making this an opportunity here in 2022 and around this election. So with that, I want to talk a little bit about what resources we have available for you and what is going to count as an election Earth Day election edition event. So the official Earth Day election edition is October 22nd. That is halfway to Earth Day, and I will also mention that this is that Gaylord Nelson, who is the founder of Earth Day, is also from Wisconsin, and so this gives us a really good opportunity to kind of follow in those footsteps. So what we're looking for in terms of engagement across the US is really around talking to people around the issue of climate change. And this can take multiple different forms. And I'll start with kind of dropping a link to our monthly actions. We have a great action sheet this month, and I will mention also that this will continue to be one of our actions for September. And so we've got a lot of different ways for you to engage. right? So there'll be social media actions. We do want to elevate this on social media. We want to, and we want to elevate this in communities. So I'll start with the really big picture. We would love for you to, as a chapter, to organize an event in your community. This is the high tier, like if you can, this is the most high impact thing you can do. And so that would look like, finding a venue, inviting other environmental groups, inviting other social groups, and inviting candidates to come and participate and be a part of this event in October. Now, that does not mean that we want to give a platform for candidates. That's not the goal here. The goal here would be to give platforms to other groups, give you an opportunity to connect with other organizations and provide a space for other groups to talk about what is important for them. It'd be a good opportunity to build those relationships and those alliances within your community, within your state, within your region. So that's a big ask. And so if you can organize that, if you have a desire to organize that, we would love for that to be the case. Now, secondly, there are all kinds of things that happen throughout the fall. Think county fairs, speaking events at other organizations, think Autobahn, Rotary, all these different types of ways to engage with communities, town hall events, or think of tabling events at farmers markets, or any way that you're getting out into the community already. So let's say, November or October comes around and you've got an opportunity to do any of those things, and you were going to do them regardless of this campaign. We still want to capture that as a part of this campaign. So I do want to just provide you a little reassurance that you don't have to shoot over the moon here. Things that you're going to be doing anyway throughout the month of October, we will want to capture that as a part of the Earth Day election edition. So I want to stop right there and just take any questions before I move into some of the additional resources that we've created.
I want to let everybody know you can either unmute or I'll be watching the chat. So if you put a question in the chat, then I will make sure it gets read.
Deb, I see your hand.
Yeah, I'm concerned about candidates. We spoke about this with a group of community organizations in our area, and our farmers market said, absolutely, you cannot have candidates. And so we looked for other venues, and we think that we found one where we could have candidates, but we're just a little nervous about how to keep them from stealing the show. So what I hear you're saying is that we have speakers from lots of other groups that talk about the importance. Once you integrate other groups, not everyone's as nonpartisan as CCL is, and so are we making this just more of a collaborative thing and not putting just our name on it, or how do we deal with the partisan groups that always find their way to the microphones?
Yeah, that's a good question, Deb. So there are kind of two questions there that I want to parse out. One is around candidates. So we do not want to give a platform for candidates to speak. That is not our goal. This is not the focus of these events. And so you're welcome to invite them to any event that you're putting together, or that you're putting together with other organizations. But if that feels uncomfortable, if you don't feel like that makes sense, you do not have to invite candidates. Again, our primary focus here is voters, not candidates. So candidates are a secondary, kind of a secondary framework in this. So we really want to be focused on voters, not candidates. So if you're concerned about inviting candidates and that they may insist on speaking or something along those lines, you are welcome to not invite them. In terms of working with other organizations, I think that there are a lot of organizations that are engaged on a lot of different topics. And I think the best way to handle that is to keep it topic focused and not so much on candidates, right? It's like what we're not going for. We don't want other organizations coming up and saying, you need to vote for X, Y, and Z. It's like, that's not what we're after. What we're after is we want you to vote for candidates that care about X, Y, and Z, right? And so we want to keep it issue focused, not candidate focused. So divorce the issues from the people. That's our goal. And so I think if we can make that clear and we can provide that distinction, then I think we can have a really positive conversation. And the way I would frame it for other organizations is this is an opportunity for them to talk about the work that they're doing and the policies that they support and why they support them. So instead of, in the time of campaigns, everybody's usually focused on this one person or this one party. Instead of focusing on that person or party, what is it that you care about? Why does your organization exist? That's what we want to hear about. So that would be the framework I would tackle that in.
Thank you.
Awesome. We have two questions in the chat that are related to Deb's questions. The first one is, are there any guidelines about which organizations to try to link with?
We definitely encourage you to link with other nonprofit, nonpartisan organizations within your community. Also, think about chambers of commerce, the Nature Conservancy, the Autobond. If there's any, Rotary clubs, if you've got Kiwanis clubs, if you have an opportunity to engage with maybe even any type of community organization. I'll give you an example. I was looking around for some community organizations in Indiana today, and there's one organization that focuses specifically on disaster relief. They're a faith-based organization, and they help people recover from weather disasters. Great example, right? It's like, so anything that we can do that's going to uplift, especially organizations that maybe traditionally aren't tied to climate, but are tied to helping support people who go through these extreme weather events, I think would be a really wonderful way to engage.
Yeah, we also have some other ideas in the chat: Urban Forest Alliance, League of Women Voters, League of Conservation Voters.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other question we have is, if candidates are not speaking, what would their role be at these events?
So their role is to come and meet voters. These are going to be potential voters. So most candidates are pretty excited to have an opportunity to talk with potential voters, and that's what this is. If you have a candidate that that's not that doesn't feel that that's enough of a value to make an appearance, that's fine. They don't have to come. That's totally okay. So I think the primary thing here is to provide them with an opportunity to connect with a lot of different people, and with any luck, a big swath of probably independents and left-leaning folks, and who knows, maybe we can pull some right-leaning folks as well.
And then Linda has another question in the chat. She is wondering if you have any thoughts on the best type of event to host, whether it's tabling with multiple tables, or a programmed event, or a series of speakers or panels. What do you suggest? Oh,
that's a great question. I like all of those. I do really like the idea of having a few different speakers plus tables. I think that's a great combination. I really like a panel would be awesome, especially if you organize the event around a set of panelists, and then had each one of those panelists plus additional organizations that all had tables as an opportunity would be fantastic. Also thinking of venue, you want something that's going to be easily accessible, public. I think I think about in Durham, you know, our farmers market takes place right across from Central Park. There's an open pavilion. It's an easy and cheap place to rent. In fact, you can rent from the county for no cost. I don't know, it's like you just put in for the space for whatever time you like. You could do it in libraries. Public libraries often have meeting spaces where you can have these type of events. So anywhere that's going to be A, keep your costs low, and B, that's going to be really accessible for folks. That's those are kind of your two your two criteria. And now that's not to say that if I'll say there's no cap on what you can spend, but I would imagine that everybody wants to keep that cost as low as possible. So yeah, so I love that, from tabling to programs to panels. Really, whatever makes the most sense for you and your community and the folks that you're partnering with, perfect. All right, very good. Okay, so now would be a good time to bring up the fact that we want to be tracking these events because we do want to try and pull as many people, especially folks that are not already affiliated with CCL, into these events. And to that end, I'm going to drop this in the chat for you. This is our Google document that we're going to ask folks to fill out if you have any, once you decide and come up with a specific, I'm going to drop this into, with a specific location and time. So the idea here is we ask you to fill out the action tracker, right? You know, it's like anytime you do anything, write a letter to the editor, make a call to a member of Congress, hold a tabling event, do a conference, you know, we want to capture that. Now that's always reactive, right? We log those after they occur. What we're doing things a little differently with this, because we do want to support and try and pull in as many new folks as we can. So what we're asking is for you to complete that Google form. Basically, we're going to ask you for the contact information for the event. We're going to ask you for where the event is held, a description for the event, and the time. That's the bulk of the form. And that's going to allow us to post this on our national website. Now, that website is not yet available. I anticipate that website will be available either next week or the week after. But in the meantime, we can still capture that information. And I'll also note that at the bottom of that form, you'll see that you can check a box for us to log this event for you. So if you want to, you know, once it takes place, if you don't check that box, you want to hold the event and then afterwards go in and log it as you do any other event or any other action for your chapter, totally fine. That works too. But when you fill out that form, if you're like, you know what, I'm gonna fill out the form, I'm gonna check the box, and then I'm done. I don't have to worry about logging this later. We'll take care of it, and we will. We'll log that. Your chapter will get credit for it, and we'll handle it on our side. So we did try to make that a little easier for you, just to save that back end step. So so this is so I do want to. I will say, again, we've never done this before, so so we're pretty excited to see how this works out. I don't know how this is going to work, so we all get to kind of figure this out together, and that's okay, right? That's how that works. And I see Ellie has a question. Are you going to have PR materials for tablings and such? Yes, I'm super happy you asked that question, and I dropped in the chat that link to community, which does have a bunch of different resources for us. Now we've got some, and I'll include this link here. This is for yard signs, and I'm actually really excited about this. I want to get one of these for my yard, and we'll also have banners as well. And so I'll include that here. So we do. All of these are available on community, and they're right under the resources and training section. And so they're already posted, already available. And I do encourage you to use those. We also have the Environmental Voter Project. So folks that want to get involved with that, we have a handout, and we encourage you to use that and share that at these events, along with this handout right here. You'll notice that everything has QR codes on it. So this is an opportunity for people, they can just go right on their phone, hit that QR code, bring them to the tabling event, it'll bring them to the elections, and bring them to the vote. So it'll give you an opportunity to help register people to vote, and do phone banking, attend town halls. We've got all kinds of fun stuff. So we've got a lot of materials ready to go. And again, all of this is available on community, and those resources are in the chat. Okay. I will say that this is an ongoing action. This was a big part of our August action sheet. It will also be a big part of our September action sheet. So we're gonna keep this front and center going into next month. And I'm very excited about this. Like I'm excited about what we're going to be able to put together. I'm excited about all the events that we have the opportunity to engage with across the country, and I'm excited about the opportunity to engage people that typically have not made climate a primary issue, even though it is a primary issue for them, and they don't tend to associate it with the importance of voting. And I think we've got an opportunity to make that happen. So yeah, so I'm pretty excited. I mean, this is pretty cool. Awesome. I see Lisa says revoter registration. I got trained back in my county, and I just picked up a stack of voter registration forms so we can register people directly at our event. October 22nd falls 2 days before the registration deadline in my state. Awesome. That's great. And Susan says, will there be a way for chapters to coordinate on the web? That's a good question. There will be a way for chapters to coordinate via the community forums. So you can use the community forum around our Earth Day election edition. You can also utilize it via your chapter or through the group leader forums. So we do have that capability through community, and the website that we're creating will have links to each of these events. So anytime you put an event in through that form, it will go up on that website. It'll have that contact information, and folks can follow it directly to the event itself. So that'll be another way for folks to engage via the web. So I think that's those are all the ways that we've currently put together, but always open to new ideas there as well. And I see Linda asks, are we still displaying Stand with Ukraine poster, or is this does this new material replace that? Either way, you can replace that material with this material. If you like the Stand with Ukraine material, that is still valid. All of those links still work. So you can absolutely use that. In terms of our Get Loud, Take Action, this will be our new Get Loud, Take Action campaign. But again, those Ukrainian materials will still be available. So that's your choice. So we trust you to use what materials make sense. And yes, Ellie, this is being recorded and will be available to share with other folks.
Yeah, it will be up on community early next week. Perfect.
Thanks, Sabrina. And Marie, yes, we do want to capture everything that is happening throughout the month of October. The official day is October 22nd. If you can tag your event to October 22nd, that's ideal. If not, that's okay too. And we are cognizant that there are different voting rules in terms of registrations and getting everything in, making sure early voting, what's available, varies greatly from state to state. And that's why we have so much flexibility in this campaign. So while October 22nd is kind of our goal date, anything throughout the month of October, we are happy to log as a part of this. This is a great idea. I'm glad. Awesome. I think so. I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, so the plan here is we'll take a little bit of a step back here. The plan is hopefully we can capture as many of these events before they happen through that Google Sheet, get them up, engage more people, and on the backside, we'll have an opportunity to evaluate, how well did this do? Was it positive? Were you able to engage a lot of folks? Did it give you an opportunity to connect with organizations that maybe you haven't been able to connect with before? Did it give you an opportunity to build relationships across your community? We're really hoping that this is going to be multifaceted and help support you in a lot of different ways. And I really want you to keep in mind that you can go as big or as small as works for you. We have some chapters that are, been around a long time, have a lot of volunteers, and are ready to rock and roll and do something really big. And that's awesome. We want to see that happen. We also have a lot of chapters that are just a couple of folks, and that's great, and so maybe that means putting together a table at a farmer's market in October. Perfect. That totally counts and is exactly what we're going for. So you have total flexibility. There is no wrong way here. So there's not too much and not too little. So whatever works for you and your group. Other questions?
Yeah, I don't know if you see the chat, but Lisa had an idea that her chapter had to organize a walk around a small local lake where they can get to know voters and chat about climate.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a fun and unique idea. And then Bob put a question in the chat that says, when will thanking the MOC when using cclusa.org/action change to the Earth Day voting focus?
Oh, that's a good question, Bob. And the honest answer is I don't know, and I'm not sure that we will. And the reason for that is because again, this is community focused, voter focused, and I'm not sure that we'll be thanking members of Congress through this lens. I think we're still going to be focusing on members of Congress around the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, and the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And I will also say that one of our last big legislative pushes this year will be for the RISE Act. I'll put that in the chat also. This is the RISEE Act, and you can find that in community as well. And the RISE Act is a piece of legislation that has bipartisan support, and it will provide resiliency funds to coastal communities. And those funds come from the leases from offshore wind development. So we're pretty excited about that. We would like to see that pass. Again, it's a bipartisan measure, and we think we can get that through either via the continuing resolution we anticipate being passed at the end of September, or through the omnibus package that is being passed, that will be passed in December. These are both must-pass pieces of legislation. So our goal will be to attach the RISE Act to both of those. So I think that will be the next thank you that we do for members of Congress. And we're hopeful that it will apply across the board, both in terms of states, congressional districts, and party.
Linda has a suggestion in the chat. She said that if you can't have your own table, then other nonprofits will probably be at big community events. So you should engage with other nonprofits if you're going to those. Linda has a request. She says that handouts explaining benefits of the IRA would be helpful to have.
Ooh, that's a good one. And I'm pretty sure we've pulled those together. Let me do a quick search right here on community and see if we have those materials. Let's take a look. So I know our nerd corner has been pretty active in that. We actually have an entire training based on that, and I'm going to drop that directly into the chat right here. And so check that out on community. If that doesn't meet your needs and you're looking for something more detailed, definitely reach out to your state or regional coordinator, and they can give you even more details. So we have an entire research team that is dedicated to this. There is a lot in the Inflation Reduction Act. It is a complex piece of bureaucratic legislation, which, hey, all right, that's where we live, right? So we're still breaking that down, still looking at the impacts of it, what it's going to mean for carbon reduction. We actually had a fantastic conversation with the folks at Inroads this week, about what this would look like, what the Inflation Reduction Act is going to look like in terms of total emission reductions globally. So there's a lot of cool things going on that front. So if you find those resources are lacking, let us know. Let us know what you're looking for, and we'll try and pull that together for you. Yeah, I see Marie's hand, and then Deb.
Thanks. At this week's liaison call, we were told that new materials are on the way. The government agent advocate, can't remember his name, young man, has done a 1 or 2 page, but is expecting to do a more elaborate one as well. Or there's a 17 page, and then there's going to be, or no, maybe the 17 page is going to be the longer one, but so it should be coming to group leaders soon.
Yes. Yep. Keep your eye out for that. We are developing that as we speak, for sure. Oh, thanks, Mary.
I was really excited last night on our Great Lakes leaders call last night. Our leaders gave us a link to a document that's been put out actually by the president. And so it breaks down the impacts of IRA by each state. And so you can click on your state and see how many new jobs are being developed in your state, and real specific numbers to funding and that kind of stuff. So it was really interesting, and it just came from the whitehouse.gov, and it was somewhere on that website. So I think if you did a search for IRA state impacts, probably from whitehouse.gov, you'd probably be able to find it. Or I could dig it out from my links from last night too.
I found it. I just put it in the chat.
Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see the individual state impacts.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns, smart remarks?
Smart Alec. I would say too, as I started originally looking for resources like that, I noticed one of the first sets were from the Democratic, from the party in terms of the passage, and it broke down, excellent breakdown. But as I thought about it in terms of sharing that with our tabling folks, again, that injects a partisan source. So I tried to use Forbes or Fortune or other sources for breakdown rather than political.
Yeah, Forbes did have a good one too.
Excellent. I love it. I love it. Thanks for putting that partisan lens on those sources. That's really good.
Careful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Craig, I see your hand.
Hi, I got on the call late, but thank you everybody for all your plans for this. Question is, how big or how small do events need to be? And can we ride on the coattail of other groups? We have a group here in Orange County that's doing a wild and scenic film festival. So they're going to have about 400 people show up for that, and we're going to do a table. Does that count as an election Earth Day event?
It absolutely does. Definitely. Yeah. There is no event too big, no event too small, and ride coattails wherever you like. So you've got total freedom in this for sure.
And one of the unique things is National is going to publicize these things for us, right? So therefore, if we say we're tabling at the Wild and Scenic Film Festival or any event, then it'll promote other people to go to that event, even though it's not sponsored by CCL.
Correct. Yep.
So that's okay.
Absolutely. That is 100% okay. The only caveat is you got to tell us about it. So be sure to fill out that form, that Google form, so we know about it and we can get it up on that website.
All right. And thank you for the clarity that we're focusing on voters not on candidates. We're focusing on issues, not on people in that way, and on the candidates. So great. So I can promote that as an election event for that tabling. Okay, great. Thank you. I'll put it on. I'll put it up.
Perfect. Cool. We got a couple more minutes. Any other thoughts, comments? Paula.
We have a local, it's called a green fair that's going to be going on that we were planning on doing basically this at, trying to make sure people are registered to vote and, highlight maybe who the candidates are and stuff like that. And then just kind of general stuff about climate. But it's on September 25th. Is that too early to count?
Yeah, it counts.
Okay.
Really easy.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Paula. Linda.
Yes, thanks. I think this is a wonderful idea. Thank you for all the people who thought it up and worked on it. I'm thinking, if we want to talk about, is it an emphasis on climate conversations or carbon fee and dividend or all of the above? We did a tabling last weekend at a festival, and we had that wonderful Six Americas poster where we asked people to put a push pin, showing where they were with climate, and we got 100 responses on our board. And the vendor at the next table told me that she heard people walking by our booth. They didn't stop, but they were talking about climate. They said, oh, well, they saw the poster and they said, oh, is there anybody who doesn't believe it's a problem? So I'm thinking about the idea of just getting people to talk about climate and impacts versus going into, our solutions, our proposed solutions. That's always kind of you never get a lot of time with people at one of these things. So any thoughts on, maybe whatever works? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I will say whatever works. Our preferred solution is carbon fee and dividend. That is, we want to be, if you can bend somebody's ear long enough to talk about it, let's talk about carbon fee and dividend.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, climate as a whole is still, if we can make that front and center, that's a win too, for sure.
Yeah.
So, thanks, Linda. All right. Well, very good. Well, I really appreciate everybody's commitment to this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And as we move forward, let me know if you have any questions. You can always reach out to me, reach out to your regional coordinator. Something pops up, you're not sure how to handle something, please let us know. We are here to support you. And thanks for making this happen. I'm super excited.
Thank you so much, Don. That was really excellent, and everybody for asking so many great questions and sharing all of your ideas. And I'm equally as excited to see what you all do and post about on community and what gets promoted on community. So thank you all so much for coming, and I hope we all have a great October.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sabrina.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Citizens Climate Lobby's training program. You can tune into more episodes anywhere podcasts are available. Inspired by what you heard today? Join Citizens Climate Lobby to advocate for bipartisan climate solutions. Go to community.citizensclimate.org to find more trainings, resources, your local chapter, national action teams, discussion forums, and more. Be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and Instagram @CitizensClimate. We also invite all of our listeners to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more inspiration.
Like what you hear? Recommend us to your friends and make sure to give us a 5-star rating. It helps us show up on other listeners' feeds. Feel free to pass on any suggestions for future episodes in the comments as well.
And together, we are creating the political will for a livable world.